I am here to tell you that the dream isn't dead.
Chapter 2. The Architect of Hope. The rain in the city square wasn't a downpour. It was a persistent, chilling mist that turned the pavement into a dark mirror. Beneath a sea of umbrellas, thousands of people stood in a silence so heavy it felt like a physical weight. These were the invisible, the ones whose pensions had evaporated into quote-unquote market corrections, whose neighborhoods had been rebranded into quote-unquote innovation districts they could no longer afford, and whose children looked at the future with a quiet, hollow dread. Noble no drama stood at the edge of the stage, shielded by the heavy canvas of the rafters, watching them. Unlike Ronald Trump's gold-leafed boardroom, this space was raw. The air tasted of ozone, damp wool, and the faint, sweet smell of roasted nuts from a nearby street vendor. Noble adjusted the sleeves of his navy blue sweater, a carefully selected knit meant to signal quote-unquote workman rather than quote-unquote executive. He closed his eyes for a second, centering himself. He wasn't just a man. He was a vessel for their longing. He stepped into the light, and the roar that met him wasn't the jagged, aggressive cheer of a Trump rally. It was a collective exhale, the sound of a lung finally finding oxygen. They tell you that the cracks in our foundation are permanent, Noble began. His voice was a masterclass in acoustics, smooth as polished stone, yet warm enough to feel like a personal conversation. They tell you that the decay is your fault, that if you just worked a little harder, sacrificed a little more, the American dream wouldn't be slipping through your fingers like water. He paused, his eyes sweeping the front row, lingering on a woman holding a hand-painted sign that simply read, quote-unquote, save our school. I'm here to tell you that your dream isn't dead, he said, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper that reached the very back of the square through flawlessly tuned speakers. It's just been stolen. The system has been broken, and it is time for the great repair. As he spoke, Noble moved with a grace that felt both humble and authoritative. He was the perfect quote-unquote left wing, the intellectual, the empathetic, the man who looked like he carried the soul of the nation in the creases of his forehead. He spoke of bridge building, of corporate accountability, and of a future where no one was left behind. He used words like equity, renewal, and community like a weaver using golden thread. Behind the heavy velvet curtain at the back of the stage, the Democratic chairman watched through a narrow slit. He was a man who moved in the shadows of the Capitol, his face a map of decades-old secrets and calculated compromises. He didn't look at the crowd with empathy. He looked at them as a data set. He checked his watch, a vintage Patek Philippe that didn't tick but glided with a silent, chilling precision. On the stage, Noble reached the crescendo. We don't need a showman. We don't need a predator who sees a city as a scorecard. We need a partner who sees the city as a home. The crowd erupted into a rhythmic chant. Repair! 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 People were weeping. They saw in Noble a savior, a man who finally heard the music of their struggle. They didn't see the teleprompter subtly guiding his quote-unquote spontaneous emotional breaks. They didn't see the way his eyes occasionally flickered toward the wing of the stage, seeking the chairman's nod like a student seeking a grade. As the rally ended and the music swelled, a soaring orchestral piece designed to evoke the founding of a new world, Noble stepped off the stage. His hand throbbed from 100 handshakes, each one a desperate plea for a better life. He retreated into the waiting black SUV, the armored doors shutting out the world with a heavy, pressurized thud. The Democratic chairman was already inside, the interior smelling of expensive tobacco and the cold scent of air conditioning. He didn't offer a compliment. He didn't mention the great repair. The chairman simply held up an encrypted smartphone. At that exact moment, across the city in a high-rise office filled with the gold-leafed furniture, his Republican counterpart was doing the same exact thing. The chairman spoke into the receiver, his voice cold and devoid of the hope Noble had just spent an hour selling to the rain-soaked masses. "The bird is in the air," he said. He ended the call and looked at Noble, who was still catching his breath, the adrenaline of the crowd still pulsing in his veins. "Good work, Noble. You gave them exactly what they needed to hear," the chairman said, his eyes as hard as flint. "Now get some sleep. Tomorrow, we start the war. And remember, the tighter the grip, the more they want to fly." That is the end of chapter 2, The Architect of Hope. Stay tuned.